Hey there, Brian Goulet here of GouletPens.com, and today I want to talk to you about the difference between Japanese and Western nibs. Now, a lot of times I read online or I get comments from folks about, hey, what's the difference? Or maybe Japanese nibs write finer, or just kind of a generalization like that. But it needs to be nuanced just a little bit, so I want to get into that just a tad. Nibs are a little bit like women's dress sizes. They're kind of different across brands, and the sizes are going to feel different for different individuals. So that's something to get into in this video here today. Now, the first thing is I want to explain that there are really two main countries that make these nibs, Japan and Germany. Of course, there are nibs that come from other countries like China and India and France and some others, but those are really the two big ones. There are three main Japanese pen companies. There's Pilot, Platinum, and Sailor. And all of these companies make their nibs in-house, so they're going to be different from pretty much anybody else. And honestly, it's really the extra fine and the fine nibs that are most often a full size finer than their Western counterparts. The medium and the broad nibs tend to actually fall in line more with other pen brands, and sometimes the broads can vary a little more, they might even be a little broader. Now, why do the Japanese nibs go finer? That's because of the characters and the way they need to be written. They need to get a line variation that sometimes goes very, very thin, so they like their extra fine nibs. Now, talking about some of the Western or the European companies, there's several countries that make their own nibs, but most of them come from Germany. Brands like Lamy and Pelikan, those are German brands. They actually make their nibs in-house. But there are some other non-brand specific nibs that are made by two major manufacturers in Germany. One of them is Bock, and they make some brands, for example, Karas Customs, Visconti, Kaweco. You may have heard of these. And the other one is Jowo. Brands like Edison, our own Goulet nibs, and Twisby use these Jowo nibs. Now, there are some other countries like Italy and France that have their own in-house nibs as well, but they tend to kind of be a little more all over the place. They can't fall quite as easily into a generalization like Japanese or German. Now, some key points when we're talking about comparing nibs. One of them is that standardizing on ink and paper is really important because they both impact line width. And having the same writer can make a difference. Everybody writes differently. The angle, the pressure, your writing speed, all of this can impact your line width. And as far as the pen design goes, the nib isn't the only factor in the line width. Things like the flow and the feed design can factor it, but really the point of this video is to focus on the nib design. And the last thing I want to point out is the Nib Nook is a tool that we built on GouletPens.com that shows writing samples that I personally have done with every single nib on every pen that we offer with the same ink and paper to give you a consistent comparison. Now, lastly, I wanted this video to be helpful if you're actually shopping for a fountain pen, because that's probably why you're trying to understand all this stuff. Well, the first point is that you want to find a pen that is appealing to you. It's not just about the nib size, that is an important factor, but it's really the whole pen that you got to take into account. And you can check out the Nib Nook on GouletPens.com. I know I just mentioned that, but it's a really helpful tool that shows you how each pen stacks up. And if you have a pen that's already in there, you can compare how your writing is to mine so that you can compare across brands even better. You can always feel free to reach out to my team, either through social channels like YouTube or our blog, or you can reach out to them through email, phone calls, whatever. We're happy to help you with some of these finer point questions. And then there's also a lot of good other resources online. You can always just randomly Google, find a lot of good bloggers or forums like the Fountain Pen Network, where you can get a lot of good comparisons and reviews that very knowledgeable fountain pen people have done to help you narrow down your selection. So just to recap a little bit, the main point I want to drive home in this video is that extra fine and fine nibs are usually finer in Japanese brands than in the Western ones, but other nibs tend to be a little bit more varied, so it really pays to do your research. And hopefully this video has helped you a little bit in that research so that you can make more educated buying decisions. If you like this video and you want more like it, be sure to check out our YouTube channel and subscribe if you haven't already, and you can leave comments on YouTube or the blog or contact anybody on my team. We'll be happy to help you out. Thanks so much for watching, and right on.